Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cool Sports Network. I am Chase Coburn, and today I am joined by a very special guest, a YouTuber, Mr. Latte, who happens to be a soccer fanatic. And today we're going to be talking some soccer on the show. Mr. Latte, welcome to the show.
Hey Chase, thanks so much for having me on. For those of you watching my YouTube channel, we're not going to be really doing what we typically do on my channel, which is gaming. Today we're having a soccer gossip session. So, yeah.
This should be a lot of fun because there are many things to talk about. Let's start off by talking about one of the best to ever do it, Lionel Messi. And he announced that he's not coming back to FC Barcelona, but the Argentine is instead going to be taking his talents to the MLS's Inter Miami CF. And he also took his talents to Inter Miami with a $500 million deal with Saudi Arabia on the table, and he declined it. So, Mr. Latte, I know you are a big soccer fan, a big Messi fan. So what does this mean for Messi, Inter Miami, and American soccer as a whole?
It's definitely going to bring a lot of attention to the MLS and American soccer. I'm really shocked that he wouldn't go back to Barca. I mean, he played there for 21 years, and as far as I know, he loved it. The prices of the tickets, I believe, already went up. I will have to fact check that, but I mean, still, it's crazy what one announcement can do.
It really is. So, I mean, what I'm thinking here about this move is it is going to bring a lot of attention. And you mentioned how one announcement could really change everything. And it really can, because on Instagram, Inter Miami went from 1 million followers on Wednesday morning to 6 million followers on Thursday morning. So, in the span of 24 hours, Inter Miami's Instagram page grew 5 million in followers. Just for some context here, the National Football League's most followed team is the New England Patriots with 4.9 million followers. So Inter Miami grew more followers in 24 hours than the highest followed NFL team on Instagram has in their existence.
That's crazy.
When you think about that concept, it truly is insane. And I think what Messi is trying to do here is that, look, he's on the top of his game right now. He's got a ton of sponsorships. He's one of two soccer players to ever be a billionaire or to have a net worth of $1 billion. And he's basically just trying to test things out. And I mean, going to Miami, especially if you're interested in living in America, going to Miami, I mean, Miami is one of the biggest markets in sports. It's the New York market, the Boston market, the Los Angeles market, and really the Miami market, and somewhat of like the Dallas, like Texas market, and Chicago. Those are like some of the biggest markets. In Miami, when you think of South Beach and you think about all the teams that they do have, especially with the Marlins playing really well right now, the Heat in the NBA Finals, and the Panthers, Florida Panthers, also in the NHL Finals or Stanley Cup Finals. I think that this move by Messi is just he's going to kind of that hot place, no pun intended, with the Heat, no pun intended. But he's going to Miami and he's going to one of the biggest markets, and it should bring a ton of attention to U.S. soccer. I mean, it did not work when Pele tried to do this in the 1970s, and he joined the New York Cosmos for 64 games. It didn't really work because that's why we're sitting here today, because American soccer really hasn't grew to the popularity that I think most people expected. But I mean, we'll see how much this does affect the MLS, because he's joining one of the worst teams in the MLS. I mean, let's be real here. This is not an incredible team. So I think that, we'll see how much he really can carry. He is, 35 years old now, so he is getting older. We don't know how much he really could carry a team. But yeah, Inter Miami was last in the Eastern Conference this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But I think overall, between the followers and the tickets that you did mention, I think Messi is really going to raise the popularity of the MLS. But unless he's going to be there consistently in the playoffs, I'm not sure if he could raise it to the point that he could have if he had joined a at least somewhat competitive team. Take Atlanta United as an example. If he would have joined a team like that and continuing to compete for a championship, then he could have grown even more, because he would be in the finals, and that's what most viewers watch. But if he's not going to be in the finals and in all the big games, MLS will grow. I just don't know if it will grow by the amount that I think some of us are hoping for.
Right, definitely. And I read it on ESPN. He said that he wanted to just try like playing soccer in different places, like something, I forget exactly what it was. It was something about just new experiences. But I mean, I definitely understand where
Something
he's
interesting to
coming
think
from.
about too is that he declined to go to Saudi Arabia, and that would have been in the same league as Cristiano Ronaldo. So you think that they're two of the greatest players ever. Now with this World Cup, I think most people are Team Messi when they think of Ronaldo versus Messi, but some people still just think Ronaldo is the better soccer player and that he's better all time. And so obviously, I think most people have Pele number one, but when you look at Messi and you look at Ronaldo, those really seem to be 2 and 3, and then Maradona in there as well. I mean, he could really, if he would have gone to Saudi Arabia and had those matches against him, again, this has nothing to do with US, but one, that would have got a lot of attention. And two, if he would have really played well against him, that would be kind of the hot hand as they both start to kind of go into the later stages of their career, saying to end their career, Messi kind of outdueled Ronaldo in that sense. So that could have also been a plot point as well in kind of this like career rivalry, it seems like, of Messi and Ronaldo.
Right.
But yeah, it was very interesting that he declined a $500 million deal with Saudi Arabia, where he could have had a chance to prove himself against Ronaldo, and instead took his talent to South Beach, like LeBron James did 13 years ago.
Right. Yeah, no. It's crazy. I never would have thought that he'd even be coming anywhere close to America. I mean, that's just not even, it's not a very popular league, the MLS. I feel like if you're going to talk about soccer leagues, the one the leagues people want to hear about are like the French League One, La Liga, Premier League, UEFA Champions League, stuff like that, because that has, you know, just it's
Right.
really popular,
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get it.
So about Neymar,
Yes, I mean, talk about great soccer players. I mean, Neymar is right there with the rest of
right? Yeah, Chelsea approached PSG about a possible deal for the left winger. I mean, what do you think about that? Chelsea with Neymar and Pulisic?
I mean, I think it would easily make them one of the best teams in the Premier League. I mean, this year was not really great for them. They're 11-11-16. Not great for Chelsea. That is 12th in the Premier League. But I mean, obviously we saw a few teams really stand out. And Chelsea really wasn't one of them. And I feel like Pulisic has kind of been alone there, and he's been trying to carry a team. But if you could have such a dominant duo like Pulisic and Neymar, I feel like the sky is the limit for Chelsea. And they could be right there with Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and all these top teams in the Premier League, and really find themselves competing for a Premier League championship.
Exactly. 18 goals and 17 assists across all tournaments this season. Now, what do you think about that? Do you think it's a little low or pretty high?
Well, I mean, I haven't even looked. How many games has he played? Let's start there.
How many games has he played? Let's look
Because I
at
mean, if
that.
you think about that, I feel like that's really the only way you can compare stats. You got to see how many they're getting per game.
Right, right, right.
It's. I do like the fact that he's passing a lot. I mean, I do think sometimes people only value the scores, but sometimes passing the ball is just as important. So I like that he's got about even goals and assists. I do like
Right.
that aspect.
So in the 2022 to 23 season, 3 games in the World Cup, 6 games in the Champions League, and 20 in the French League One.
So that's 29.
Correct.
So he's got 35 points in 29 games. I mean, that sounds pretty good. I mean, it may sound a little low.
Right, but I mean, then again, soccer isn't usually a very high scoring game like football or basketball.
Right, and we'll talk about this again. We saw the UEFA Champions League final yesterday, and that only finished in a 1-0 scoring. So soccer, I mean, if you think about scoring, let's do the math. That's easily over a point a game. Yeah, that's 1.2 points a game. So I mean, if you multiply that by 5, you're getting what, like 6 points every you're getting like, you know what I'm saying? So like it's a lot, like it's a you're getting like 6 points every 149. It's hard to do the math, but the point is that like that is still a really decent amount of points. And again, I really do like the fact that he's getting a similar amount of assists as goals, because I think most of us think of Neymar as a goal scorer, but I think again getting the assist is just as important.
So yeah, definitely. Chelsea said they want to try and find a good price for Neymar. Before he was playing with PSG, he was with Barcelona, where he was signed for a record price of I think it was 22 million euros, or about $239 million. What do you think of that?
You're saying, like, what do you mean? I mean, that's a lot of money. First of all, let's just get a start there. That's a lot of money. Um, but it was 222 million euros, just to clarify for the audience. But so yeah, I mean that's a lot of money right there, and I feel like that we'll see if he gets that offer again. I mean, we do have to remember a kind of offer like that. We do have to remember while we think of Neymar is young, he is still 31 years old. He's only a few years younger than Messi. So I think that has to be in the consideration. But Mr. Latte, I'm going to throw a question to you here real quick. So, um, we had this discussion privately, but I feel like it's time we talk about it on here. Would you consider Neymar an all-time great soccer player at 31 years old?
Um, that I would consider him on my top 5 soccer players. So, okay, here's my list. It goes Pele, Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo, and then Neymar in 5th place.
So you do have Neymar there.
Yeah, I do have Neymar there.
Okay, that's actually interesting. Okay.
Oh, and then
So how many people, just like you're saying, anybody outside the top 5 cannot be considered an all-time great?
um well, it is all about opinions,
Right.
because if one guy says he's the greatest player of all time, I mean, if you look at the stats, it might not be true. But then again, he might just like the player. That's an opinion. So, for someone else, it might be different. Pele might not even be on there.
Okay. Something interesting to think about is Sportsnaut, which is the most recent updated, soccer knowledgeable website that's done a list of the greatest soccer players of all time. They had Neymar at 10, the Brazilian Ronaldo at 7. He's been in consideration for the top 5. But then they have Mbappe 5, Ronaldo 4, Maradona 3, Pele 2, and they think Messi is the greatest of all time, which to me is blasphemy.
I mean, I don't agree with the list, but I do see where they're coming from.
With what? I mean, I see where they're coming
With
from.
Mbappe in 5.
I see where they're coming from there, and I actually see where they're coming from putting Mbappe above Neymar. I actually see that as well.
I agree with that, but I just don't like Mbappe. I heard as a person he's not the best. I don't know how factual that is, but
Yeah. But also you have to think about here the fact that they had Ronaldo and Messi separated by 3 spots, and I feel like that's a little disrespectful.
yeah.
I mean, Argentina has always had more help around Messi for the World Cup. And so if you're going to put him ahead, and I do agree that Messi is better than Ronaldo because of that World Cup. But if you're going to separate them by 3 spots because of a World Cup, when Ronaldo hasn't really gotten a ton of help in the World Cup, I feel like that's a little disrespectful. And putting Messi, who won 3 or 4 World Cups, not at number 1, I think it's just that's complete blasphemy to me.
Yeah, no, Pele should be at number 1.
He scored 1,279 goals.
How many
He has the
matches?
most assists in FIFA World Cup history. And yeah, he won 4 World Cup titles.
4. Oh my gosh, no, he's number 1 for sure. That's like no doubt.
Yes. So I think this list that kind of makes you feel like if they're putting Neymar behind like a guy like the Brazilian Ronaldo, I think
R9.
that's the part where like we have to maybe consider maybe not as much a credibility, but like I mean, it's again it's just an opinion, but at the same time, that's a pretty controversial list right there.
Right.
I mean, like, I'm just trying to look at another list here real quick to see kind of what the consensus is on like Neymar, Mbappe, guys like that. I mean, I'm looking at this list. I have not seen. We're into the top 5, and I think this list has no idea what they're doing. Because I haven't seen Ronaldo, I haven't seen like anybody on there. But I guess the point is that like this is a controversial debate. So for me, and I am more of a soccer casual, that's why we don't usually talk a lot about soccer here on the Cool Sports Network. I think Pele is number one, and then I think Messi. I think Maradona could be two, and then Messi, Ronaldo, 3 and 4. I could see that. I really think that I wouldn't be mad by putting Ronaldo, Maradona, and Messi. Those three, I think you could flip the order. I'm fine with that. And then number five, I think I'd consider guys like Mbappe, guys like Neymar, guys like that. And the crazy thing about Mbappe too is that he is younger than a ton of these guys too, so he's going to continue to get better. And he's only 24 years old. I mean, he could really go down as one of the greatest ever if he isn't already.
Oh yeah, totally. And then I could Holland, I don't know how young he is, but I'm assuming he's young. If he definitely gets better, people like Ronaldo and Messi will eventually retire, and sorry, Neymar too. And then room for Holland and Mbappe and those kinds of people will, join the greatest of all time list.
Right, and kind of join the debate. Do you
Right.
think there's anybody like what do you think someone will have to do to pass Pele to be the greatest soccer player of all time?
He's won 4 World Cups. What? How many goals did you say?
1,279 goals.
1,279 goals. I don't think anyone is going to surpass that for a long time. But if they do, if they surpass 4 World Cups, and remember, a World Cup only happens every 4 years. So if they surpass 4 World Cups over 1,279 goals, then I'm going to consider them better than Pele. If that does not happen, nowhere close.
So you're saying that they have to achieve what he did when it
But
comes
better.
to the World Cups to be able to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay,
I do believe that.
okay, yeah, okay, I understand that completely.
Yep. Yeah.
Excuse me, I think I was reading the wrong thing. I don't think that was goals. That may have been assists. Excuse me, because actually Ronaldo and Messi have more goals all time.
Oh, okay.
But Ronaldo and Messi are nowhere close from World Cups.
Right. So I mean they're right next to Pele, but they're not surpassing him.
Would you put Maradona behind Ronaldo or Messi, or like where does he stack up?
Remind me again how many World Cups he's won.
I mean, he is a. He was amazing. Obviously, I feel like he's known for the Maradona handball.
Right.
But
Right.
I mean,
1 World Cup for Maradona.
yeah. So is he above Messi?
I think he's right there with him.
Okay. So you put
They're
him ahead
like
of Ronaldo.
you can flip out Messi for Maradona or vice versa.
Okay. But then you have Ronaldo at 4.
Yes, I think Ronaldo stays at 4.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. So let's move on to the final segment of the show here. And that is the UEFA Champions League final, which happened yesterday between Man City and Inter Milan. And that was a very interesting game. So, Mr. Latte, what were kind of your thoughts with Man City taking down Inter Milan 1-0 in what was a very, very tight matchup?
I think I expected Manchester City to win. I would have actually loved to see a great underdog story, honestly. I feel like Manchester City is better. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but I think they're better. Um Surprisingly though, Inter Milan had 6 shots on target while Man City had 4. So the 2 shot difference can make all the difference in the world because say those 2 extra shots that Inter Milan took made it in, they would have won.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, you, you know,
Yeah, I mean, soccer is a game of inches, kind of like every sport, to be honest.
right.
especially shots on
one play.
target too. I mean, they had 7 more shots total, 2 more shots on target. That's also a little concerning too. They're trying to shoot the ball and they got it on target less than 50%. While Man City got it more than 50%. They seem to be playing a little more conservative, and then when they would shoot it, most of the time it would get on target.
Right. Right.
I mean, I just kind of wanted to touch here because, I mean, to me, I think this game came down to Man City being patient because, again, they only had 7 shots, 4 shots on target. That's less than Inter Milan in both categories, but they held the ball for 56% of the time compared to Inter Milan. Obviously, do the math, 44% of the time. But to me, the key here was the exponential. I think that's the best word I could come up with. The exponential difference in ball movement with Man City passing the ball significantly more, 116 times
Yeah.
more than Inter Milan. And we saw on when Man City did score, it was all about their ball movement with a cutting Rodrigo coming into the net, and then at that point, I mean, it would have been really hard for him not to beat the goalie at that point. So I mean,
Right.
it really came down to their ball movement, and if that got them, they're playing conservative ball. They controlled the possession, and because of that, they were able to get much better shots on net. And to me, that was really the reason. Their patience and their ability to share the ball. I think that was really the reason why Man City was able to take down Inter Milan.
Right. Ball movement is key. If you don't pass and you just become a ball hog, the defenders are going to come up on you and attack, and then you're just going to lose the ball.
Right.
I mean, you have to pass. That's
Yes,
key.
he had 511 passes.
Right.
Insane.
I believe I've watched matches with over 700. But you're right, that is crazy.
It's still an astounding amount, It's
Right,
just like,
yeah.
especially when on the other side they're not even crossing the 400 mark.
Right.
Like
No.
that's truly insane.
Yeah.
And in those kind of games too, where you'll see like close to 700 passes, that's probably when they're controlling most of the possession. But in this case, it was only a little over a coin flip when it came to possession.
Right.
So it really showed that Inter Milan kind of played a little more selfishly, and I think that kind of, I think that was partially the reason why they couldn't get the goal in the net once.
Right. So Man City had 11 fouls, and Inter Milan had 17. What do you think about that? 17 fouls.
Well, that's probably, again, because of the ball movement. I mean, Man City's not having to move around a lot because, again, they're just expecting one player. So just think about this logically when you think of physics. If they're not moving around a lot, they're not going to have to come back and get a yellow card foul and try to really steal it away if they feel comfortable about how they're guarding, if they're not passing the ball as much. Now let's go over to Man City. If they're passing the ball a lot, eventually someone could get open, and to make up for that, Inter Milan is going to have to foul.
Right.
It's kind of like basketball as well in that sense. The team that moves the ball around is usually going to get the other team more in foul trouble, and the team that is moving around more. And I feel that Man City did that, and I feel like the difference in fouls was just kind of another result of Man City being more patient and controlling the possession and passing the ball a lot.
Right. So, 2 yellow cards for Man City. I believe one was given to Holland. The other, I'm not sure who, but 3 for Inter Milan. So that definitely lines up with what you were saying about, possession and control and all that.
Right. Yes, for sure. All right. I think that basically does it here for the first ever soccer type episode on the Cool Sports Network. And if you're listening on Mr. Latte, again, kind of a video that you guys really don't do often on your channel.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you are, please like, subscribe, and make sure notifications are on.
Yeah, and if you're listening here on the Cool Sports Network, Mr. Latte, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to talk soccer. We hope you guys enjoyed another episode of the Cool Sports Network. Please subscribe, follow, share, view, and of course, as always, I will see you next time. We out.
Goodbye.